Hi everyone, this is Debbie with BookAndBuJo. Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you've been here before. Today let's go over all of the stats and the books that I read for June. Alright, for my June stats, I've had some questions about this spreadsheet, and this is from, she used to be Allie the Hardback Hoarder, and I think it's with Allie now. I will leave her channel and her Etsy shop linked down below in the description box, but this one is the multi-year reading spreadsheet. So it was from 2024 to 2029, and I purchased it in 2024. Now for June, I read 35 books. So much for trying to slow down a little, right? I read 13,183 pages, and I listened to 243 and a quarter hours of audiobooks. Whew, that's a lot. And I don't think I had any rereads, and I haven't kept up with the Books Acquired Library checkout portion of the spreadsheet, although it's in there. There's a tab for putting your library books in there, and sometimes I go in there and am really good at it, and other times I completely forget it's there, which was June. Let's see, compared to the rest of the months in the year, January, it looks like I read 26. February was only 19. March was 23. April, I read 30. May, 44. Actually, I think I read 31 in April. I'll have to look. And 35 in June. That's a lot. Now, this July space does have some stuff in there, but that's just because I've put my TBR into July so far. I haven't actually read any of them yet, but they're there. And then we move into ratings. So I have an average of 4.2, which is amazing, and that's for June. And I had, let's see, 5 3.5 stars, 13 4 stars, 11 4.5 stars, and 3 5 stars. Yay! Love it. Book lengths. Shortest read was Calypso the Sea Witch at 60 pages. The shortest book I listened to was Upright Women Wanted at 3.88, so almost a 4-hour audiobook. The longest book and longest audiobook was Magician by Raymond E. Feist, and that was 845 pages and 36 and a quarter hours for the audiobook. Back up to the top. Genres. Fantasy, of course. 16 of the books I read were fantasy. 2 dystopian. 5 contemporary, 2 classics, 1 thriller, 3 nonfiction, 4 horror, and 1 historical. That's awesome. Formatting, 27 novels, 2 anthologies, and 5 novellas. 2 anthologies, who am I? That's crazy. And then what type of book? 16 ebooks, 11 audiobooks, 7 mixture of either audio and ebook or audio and physical book, and then 1 physical book. And acquired. So 19 I owned, which is amazing. So I was able to tick off 19 books from my owned TBR. 5 were borrowed, and 7 came from the library. Audience. Let's see. 19 adult, 2 new adult, 12 YA, and 2 middle grade. And those 2 were just random shoved in at the end books, the 2 middle grades. Color covers had a nice array of colors for the month, which is great. I love that. Country. So we had 12 from the US, 2 from Canada, and 1 from the United Kingdom. 2 from the United Kingdom, because 1 down here was England, so not a very big variety this month. Let's move me to the other side, and we have author and publication. So 20 were new to me. 14 I have read the author before, and then 1 was a debut. For publication, we had 12 indie, 6 self-published, which is amazing, and 17 traditional, which means I read 1 more indie self-pub book than I did traditional. I love that. That is awesome. And then for series, we have 19 were part of a series and 16 were standalones. And then for publication year, we had 4 from 2026, which is crazy. 1 from 2014, 6 from 2025, 3 from 2015, 3 from 2024, 3 from 2022, 1 from 2012, 1 from 2021, and 1 from 2023. That seems crazy. That's all very new books. I'm not used to them all being from the 2000s. Interesting. So again, here's countries that I have read from. Before we go over to my chair and go over each of the different books, let's look at the month-by-month comparison. So January was pretty good. 26 books there, 7,000, almost 8,000 pages. February, I read a lot less books at 19 over 26, but I read more pages. So I read a lot of big books in February at 8,000. Another 8,000 in March. Then it went to 10,000 in April, 15,000 in May, and 13,000 in June. Whew, this is making me really nervous to see what September is going to look like with the Magical Readathon and Seasonathon Academy, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then I also have some yearly stats in here. Let's go down in the bottom corner here. So my dashboard for 2026, so far I've read 207 books. That's a lot. I'm currently reading 4 books, which, yes. Pages read 63,957 and 1,450 hours of audiobooks. Nice. This is all the genres that I've been reading, so there's lots of different ones in here. I do like seeing that there's a variety. And then these are the subgenres in here. So again, a nice variety. Let's see what else we have. So again, this is how many books read, monthly reads again, average rating 4.2, which is great. 25 stars so far for 2026. That's awesome. Shortest book so far is Shadow Among Legions with 12 pages. And the longest book is The Pillars of the Earth at 1,007. Oh, also the Brothers Karamazov at 42-hour audiobook. I like it. And then we have my book colors for the year, where I've gotten my books. So 67 owned and 69 from the library, which is great. 22 borrowed, 1 from Everand and 1 was gifted, 3 from NetGalley. And then we have, so that's this graph here. And then this one, we have 113 adult books, 47 YA, 7 new adult, 10 middle grade, and 1 little sliver in there, 1 children's book. What else do we have? Formatting, 144 novels, 18 novellas, 3 anthologies, and 2 graphic novels. For formatting, we have audiobooks 72, ebooks 47, mixture 46, and physical 13. So I've read 13 physical books. Crazy. New to me 93, read before 81, and 4 debuts. I'm sure there's more debuts. I just didn't take the time to look up to see if it was just a new to me author or if it was their debut book. So I'm sure there's a few more in there. 105 traditional, we have 52 indie, and 20 self-pub. I would love to see the 20 go up more with more self-pub authors. And let's see, what else do we have over here? A list of all of the authors that I've read. There's a lot. What else do we have? 109 standalone and 98 were part of a series. We've got diversity, 25 and 13 LGBTQIA+. I believe it says month, so that might just be for June. Oh yeah, so diversity 113, LGBT 69. So 55% of my books are diverse, which is great. And then of course a lot more authors in there. Whoa! And I think that is it for those stats. And then you can also look at your years side by side. For years at a glance, in 2024, I read 252 books. In 2025, I read 319. And in 2026, so far, I've read 207. So I feel like I'm ramping myself up to the same amount as in 2025, if not a little bit more. We'll see. I don't really want to make it to 400 books. That's because that's a lot, but who knows? We'll see. Audiobooks are definitely ramping up, 28 to 29 to 72. For ebooks, 36, 40, 47. Physical books, 13, 12, 13. So that one stays pretty even each year. Let's see, graphs. So books read per year, pages, books acquired, hours per year. DNF's only the one. That was Finnegan's Wake. And then rereads so far. Not sure what the different years are for that. Must be 2024 and 2025 since 2026 is not over yet. All right, so that is all I got for the stats. Let's go ahead and move over to the chair and go through all the books. So we'll start with the first one that I read and finished, and that is Mother of Learning by Damagoy Kermayak, and this was Arc 2, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. 4 3/4? Almost 5, not quite. So 4.5 stars. If you have not read this, it is so cute. Our main character, Zorian, in book 1, he is getting ready to go to magic school, and he wakes up with his little sister jumping on him. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And it is so cute. I love the relationship between Zorian and his sister. It is just so sweet. He then proceeds to get ready for school. So he's going off to, and it's basically like a boarding school kind of a thing where you actually go and you live there. And so he's leaving his little sister at home. She's the only one left. He has an older brother, and so it's just the parents and the little sister, and the parents are really busy, so they're not really around that much. So he's a little concerned for her, wants to make sure she's going to be okay. But then he goes and he's at school, and then something happens, and yeah, it's kind of a lit RPG with some time travel and super fun. Love it. Highly recommend. The next book I read was An Emporium of Hearts, and this was a little prequel short story by Haley Turner, and it's the Infernal War Saga. And this was really good. I was surprised. I wasn't expecting a whole lot out of it, but I loved it. It's a world where you have your royalty kind of thing, the dukes and princes and kings and like that kind of stuff, and then the well-to-dos. And then you have like the shopkeepers and the people in the marketplace, and they're much lower on the totem pole. There's also a magic system, and we start with a young gentleman who is a toy maker, and it's also sort of a steampunk world, which is super cool. I love that. And there's a young gentleman who is a toy maker, and his peers who are more well-to-do come by the marketplace where he has a little table set up, or booth, kind of think of it kind of like a farmer's market type of thing. And one of them just is not a nice person, and he ends up breaking some of these toys that are all, you know, kind of like a cogs and wheels and things like that. So kind of the steampunk kind of toys where you can wind them up and they do things. And that's kind of how it starts. And one of the friends of the well-to-do ended up being super nice and helped pick up kind of some of the toys and that had gotten crashed to the ground and broken, and gave them back to him, and ended up kind of paying for it as well, which was super nice. And then it's kind of the story of these two that meet each other later again in the story. And there's also slavery and kind of a, if you think of like the Underground Railroad type of thing going on as well. It's very interesting. I definitely want to continue with the series and find out what the full novel is about. And I gave that one 4 stars. Next, I read The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson, and this is the first book in the Eternal Path series, and I gave this one 4 stars. I did really enjoy my time with it, but I didn't love it. So yeah, it did get 4 stars, but not quite a 5 that I was anticipating. Next, I read my first 5-star of June, and that was Heavy Lies the Crown by Ben Galley. This is the second book in the Scalusan Chronicles, and I loved it. So good. So if you want to know more about it, you got to go all the way back to the Emaneska series, which is a 4-book series with some novellas thrown in, and then the Scalusan Chronicles is a companion series that comes in after that, and this one is a trilogy. So you kind of got to go back to the beginning for this one. You could jump into just the trilogy, but I don't think it would have as big of an impact as if you knew the character's backstory from the Emaneska series. But so good. So you have Varden, who is our main character, and he is a Written. So the Written are magic users that have books tattooed on their backs. And anyone who reads the book from your back basically will go insane. So you can't show anybody your back. Yeah, keep that covered at all times. But it makes you an even more powerful mage. And there's those who are jealous of the Written and just magic users in general. There's those who hate magic users and Written in general. There's corruption, there's politics, there's deceit, there's betrayal, there's hope, there's love. There's so much in this series. I would highly recommend it. It's so good. Next, I read The Bruising of Kilwa, and this is by Nassim Jamnia, and this was a book club book pick for the Boundless Book Club with This Story Ain't Over. And this one was really interesting. It was a little shorter than I would have liked. I wanted just a little bit more. I feel like parts of the story were such a great pace, and then parts of it had to go really pick up in pace to get to the end in so few pages. And so, I would have liked it to be a much longer book. Not a whole lot longer, but an extra 50 pages I think would have hit the sweet spot just right. But I did really enjoy it. We have a dystopian society, there's blood magic, there's elemental magic, there's basically a caste system, and if you have magic, if you're blood magic, you're like bottom of the barrel parasite kind of thing. And if you are magic users, there's some that are good, some that are considered not so much. And then of course you have a lot of refugees as well that are coming in from war-torn countries nearby, coming to this country for sanctuary and to get away from all of the atrocities that are happening. And it was very interesting. I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to get into any kind of spoilers or anything, but it was very intriguing. I did really enjoy it. I just wanted a few more pages. But yeah, the pacing kind of between, I want to say kind of the 2/3 mark to almost the end had a little bit too fast a pace. I think it moved a little too quickly and needed to be fleshed out just a little bit more, expanded on, not fleshed out, expanded on a little bit more. That's the phrase I want. So yeah, if it had been expanded a little bit more and a little longer, I think that would have been much better. I think the pacing would have been really good overall if we had had just a little bit more in that little section. And The Bruising of Kilwa, I did give 4 stars. And then I read Nine-Tailed by J.C. Lee, and this is the first book in the Realm of Four Kingdoms series. And I did enjoy this one. It was very interesting. I was surprised. Normally, I'm not a shifter book reader. I don't usually enjoy shifter romances, especially. I don't know why, but I don't know. It's not my thing. But this one was actually pretty good. So it is a fox shifter. So if you can see the little fox right down there. And of course with 9 tails. And it's based on Korean mythology. And I thought it was really good. So the main character is based actually in Vegas. And she's kind of on the run and hiding out because of things from her past, and things from her more recent past have kind of invaded her current life again, and she's trying to figure out what to do about that and how not to let her more past find out where she is and what's happened with her. But it was really good. So you had kind of a mystery in there. You had the nice kind of folklore mythology aspect of it. And there was a little bit of a romance in there as well. And there was a good friendship and a quest. Yeah, it was really good. I liked it. And I did give that one 3 3/4 of a star. It's almost a 4-star. Next, I read The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling. And this was a recommendation from my Escape the Readathon team. Go Team Scientists. And A lot of people were reading this one and saying how good it was, and my library happened to have it. It was available to borrow, so I listened to that one, and it was great. I loved it, and I gave it 4 stars. So you have a little bit of a medieval time period, and they're going through a siege, and they're cut off from being able to get any supplies, and so they're running out of food, and they're trying to figure out what's going to happen. But then this interesting kind of magic section kind of comes into play, and interesting visitors come, and yeah, we have a couple people who can kind of see through the mystery and the mist, so to speak, and they are trying to figure out how to get out of this situation, and it was very intriguing. Really enjoyed it. And then I read another book from my physical TBR, and that is The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, and I know I talked about this a little bit before, and I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars, but I was a little disappointed by it because I was just expecting more. So I was anticipating it to be a 5-star and this amazing thing. And it's a little bit more of a setup book. And I'm sure the next couple of books in the series will kind of get me a little bit more than this one did. But I did enjoy it, and it took me a little ways through the book, about halfway through or so, maybe actually a little longer, 2/3 of the way through, before I really found that character or that person that I was like, okay, I want to know what's going to happen to this person. So I'm much more of a character-driven reader, and this one had a lot of characters, and it was harder to kind of pick 1 or 2 that I was interested in, but I did finally get that towards the end, so that's great. Lots of political intrigue in this one. Next, I read Lady Tremaine by Rachel Hockhauser, and this one I gave 4.5 stars. So good. It is a fairy tale retelling of Cinderella, taken from the stepmother's point of view. I loved the kind of twist and the perspective that Rachel Hockhauser took in writing this book. I thought it was so well done, and I was pretty much gripped from beginning to end in this one. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then I read the final book in a trilogy, and that is Demon's Ruin by Ben Galley and David Estes, and I gave this one 4.5 stars, 4.5 stars for the whole series. So good, very interesting, and I think I read the whole series within 2 months, I think, and I am so glad I did. It was so good. The main characters in this story are tree dwellers, so they live in the trees, and they are small, so like they ride on birds and things like that as their transportation. So if that kind of gives you a little bit of perspective of their size, and they are trying to protect their tree from demons that are coming in, trying to wipe everyone out. And as this is the 3rd book in the series, I don't want to say much more than that, but it was really good, very interesting. There is a lot of violence in this one, but I still think as like a upper middle grade, lower YA, especially if you're reading it with the kids, like I could see upper middle grade kids enjoying this story as well, but definitely YA. I as an adult, I still thoroughly enjoyed it. Next, again by the recommendation from Team Scientists, I read The Caretaker by Marcus Cleaver, and this one had so much atmosphere. I gave it 4.5 stars, atmosphere for days. It was so good. The concept was very interesting. Our main character is looking for a job to help take care of her sister and herself, and she finds this caretaker position, and so she goes to interview for it and ends up getting the position, and it's a little bit of an odd one. But they need the money, so she's gonna go for it, and then it just gets crazier and crazier from there. And this one is definitely more of a scary horror, but not overly scary. So I'm pretty much a chicken when it comes to most scary books, but this one was really good. You just like kind of like the anticipation, being on the edge of your seat, but also the choices our main character makes, you're like, why? But then again, would I do any different in that situation? Like, would you, wouldn't you? I mean, some of them definitely. Others maybe not, and maybe have made worse decisions than what she did. So yeah, very interesting. So far I am liking Marcus Cleaver. I've read 2 of his books so far and love them both. And then I read another final book in a series. Yay, go me, finishing up series. And that is To Kill a God by Ben Galley. And this is the 3rd and final book in the Skalusan Chronicles. And I gave this one 5 stars as well. 5-star series. So good. Such a great conclusion to the whole Emaneska series with the written and all of that. And since I just kind of talked about that in the 2nd book, I won't go over it again here because this is the 3rd book in the series. But highly recommend. You definitely need to read this whole series. So good. Next, I read The Soul of an Octopus by Cy Montgomery, and I loved this book. And I gave it 4.5 stars. So good, so sweet, so homey, so full of information, not only about the octopus, but about some of the other aquatic creatures. And this one is the true story of Cy Montgomery's time at the, I believe she's in Boston, and the aquarium there. Such a great one. And the author narrates the book as well and does a great job. And then we have Upright Women Wanted by Sarah Gailey, and this one is the 1st book in the Sand in the Gears series. So it's a Western dystopian. It's also, I feel like there's a touch of romance in there, and it was really good. I enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. And then another 4-star read was Chlorine by Jade Song. And again, I talked about this one in my mid-year freakout tag, which I will leave linked up in the cards above if you want to hear a little bit more about it. But it's a mermaid story, and I did enjoy it. And then I read Camp by Elsie Rosen, and this one was for Camp Seasonathon with Completely Melanie. And we also got to chat with the author, which was a lot of fun, and I did enjoy this one, 4 stars. I love the building of the friendships and the willingness to kind of put yourself out there and let someone decide whether they want to accept whatever you're giving or not, and I did love that aspect of it. Okay, we're about halfway through, so if you need to pause, get a drink, come on back. Go ahead and do so. So about halfway through. Next we had The Kissing Booth by Beth Reekles. This is the 1st book in the series, and I'd watched both the 1st and 2nd movie on Netflix previously before reading this one, and it was so cute. I feel like the movie actually lined up pretty well with the book, which was great. And yeah, it was just so much fun. So you have 2 besties, one's a girl, one's a boy. They were born on the same day. They share the same birthdays. Their moms were best friends, and yeah, they grew up together, and so they're besties. And then at school, they have a kissing booth, and yeah, it's just really cute. If you have not read it or watched the movie, I would say go for it. And I give that one 4 stars. Next, I read Spellmaker by Charlie N. Holmberg, and this one is the 2nd book in the Spellbreaker series, and it's actually a duology, so I finished a 3rd series in June, which is amazing. I love it. And this one follows the characters from the 1st book, as well as introducing a few new characters, which I loved. And the 1st book, the main character is a spell breaker, so she has magic and is able to go and see things that have spells, or sense that there's a spell on something and be able to kind of unravel it and break it so that it is no longer there, which is kind of an interesting concept. And then this one is the follow-up story to that, The Spell Maker. And I gave this one 4.5 stars. Next, I read The Quitters Club by Jessica Strasser, and this one was really good. I loved the concept of it, and I just thought it was very interesting. So I loved the characters and the relationships between all of the characters. So these friends went to college together, they were besties, and then they try and get together every so often, or at least keep in touch. And they decide to take a vacation together, and it's just the girls, and they get together and they spend the weekend together, and they kind of come up with this concept of, maybe we all just need to quit something. So, but in a positive way, like things that are no longer serving you, that you really need to get out of your life, and they're just making things not good. And so we're each going to quit this something. And then it's the story of how that pans out for each of them. And it was very good. And I gave it 4 stars. Next, I read Dark Rise, the first book in the series by C.S. Pacat, and this one I gave 4 stars to as well. A lot of 4 stars this month. And I did enjoy this one. I didn't like it as much as I thought it was going to. I feel like parts of it were slow. So like the pacing I think was a little off. It might have just been when I read it, but I did enjoy the whole concept of it. And unfortunately, it hasn't stuck in my brain very well. I definitely want to move on to the second book, but yeah, it wasn't lasting in my brain, unfortunately. And then I read my other 5-star read for the month, which was Magician by Raymond E. Feist, the first book in the Rift War saga. Loved this book. Everything about it. Start to finish, characters, magic system, pacing, atmosphere, world building, everything. Loved it. So good. This one, like I said in some previous videos, this one just felt like coming home. Starting from the voice of the narrator and the way he narrated it, Peter Joyce, I believe, was the narrator, did an excellent job, especially with all the different voices for the characters and everything. Did such a great job. And just the writing style, everything was just like a breath of fresh air for me at that point in time, and I loved every little bit of it. And I feel like if I had picked this up at any other time, I still would have given it 5 stars. So it wasn't just that it felt like a breath of fresh air. The storyline itself was really interesting, and I can't wait to get to the rest of the series. Next, I read Whisper of Suffering by Samantha Jacoby, and this is the first book in the Dragon of Eridan series. And this one was interesting. I did enjoy it. I gave it 3.5 stars. It wasn't anything amazing, but it was very interesting. And our main character basically starts out as a dragon. She's like a 3-year-old dragon. And as a punishment to the former ruler of the land, because an evil dragon has come in to take over, even though the main dragon, the head guy at the beginning, everything was peaceful in the land and things were amazing. This guy did not want him ruling anymore. He wanted to rule. And as a punishment, he took his 3-year-old dragon and turned her into a human. And the human girl was 3, and some locals in the area didn't have any kids, and they were so excited to find this young child just out in a field somewhere, and so they took her in and they raised her, and now she is coming of age and she's going out to go out on her own. There is a love interest at the beginning that she really wants no part of. She's like, I don't know. And so she wants to go out on her own and find another way of life, and this is the story of that. And it was really interesting, and if there was a time, if I have the second book and it fit for a prompt for a readathon, or I just kind of was in the mood, I would read it. I'm not going to go out of my way to find it, but I would read the second book if I had it. Next, I read Not Quite by the Book by Julie Hatcher, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. It was so cute. I loved it. I had such a fun time reading this book. And if you are doing Herkia 3.0 and you're looking for a prompt for the Bookception one, and you need to read a book that mentions other books, this is a great one. She owns a bookstore and talks a lot about some current books, some older books, and yeah, it was so much fun. I loved it. Then I read The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher, one of her horror books, and this was so good. Again, the atmosphere was great, the characters were interesting, and the whole concept was very interesting, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. So good. Next up, I read another book about books, and that was The Bordeaux Book Club by Jillian Harvey, and I gave this one 4 stars, and this one was great. It's about a book club that gets started that takes place in France, and this is for English speakers, mainly people from England that have then come over to France to live. Again, this one will work for the bookception prompt for Herkiad 3.0, as this one mentions a whole lot of other books, mainly classics, but it does talk about some other books as well. And then I read Calypso the Sea Witch, and this is by Paul Mouchet, and it's a prequel novella to the Between Land and Sea series, and I thought it was really interesting. It was a great little setup, and I gave this one 3.5 stars, and it kind of sets up for, if you think of the Little Mermaid Disney movie where you have the Sea Witch, it's kind of the story of how the Sea Witch became who she was. And I thought it was really cute, and it was very short. Next, I read the final book in the Once Upon a Time series by Demelza Carlton, and it was Fly, a Goose Girl retelling. And I actually then went and listened to the Goose Girl because I didn't actually know that story. So this one made more sense after I listened to that one. But I did enjoy this one, and I gave it 4 stars. I feel like it followed along the original story fairly well, like it captured each of the main points from the story. I did appreciate that. Next, I read Thornhaven, and this is the first book in the series by Morgan Rice, and this one is considered season 1, and I gave this one 3.5 stars. It was a good setup. Creatures that are kind of invading the land and taking over and killing all the people in like the remote villages and things like that, and our main character lives in one of these villages and has spent her life fighting these creatures, but she needs more skills and more information and more knowledge, and so she wants to go to Thornhaven, which is an academy that teaches people how to fight these creatures. Their admission test is getting to the school alive. And it was fun, and I thought it was a good setup to the story. And I think there's 8 books in the series, and each one is a different year at the academy. And I'm interested to see where it goes from here. And then I basically finished my TBR for June and needed then to find other books to read that were just random books. And I decided to read The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Now, I had seen the movie previously, and a couple years ago, probably whenever it came out, I saw it. I feel like I saw it within a year or two of when it came out. And I am happy to say that it follows the book pretty well. Also, I think most of the movies that I watched that were from books and also read the book, they followed along nicely with the books, which was good. Nothing weird came out, so I liked that. I loved the suspense and thriller aspect of it. Of course, I already knew what was going to happen, although it's been a couple of years since I've seen the movie. But I still liked the buildup of it and the characterization and the intrigue and the twists and reveals and all of that came with the book. I thought it was done really well and thoroughly enjoyed it. 4 stars. Next, I read Better in Black by Cassandra Clare, another short story anthology in the Shadowhunter world, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one and gave it 4 stars. And it was so nice to be back with all of the characters from the Shadowhunter world. Loved it. Next, I read 75 Hard, a tactical guide to winning the war with yourself. So this one is separate from 75 Hard challenge, where you're doing like the exercise and water and nutrition and nonfiction book, all that stuff. This one's separate. This one's more about the discipline, why you need discipline, and kind of the different aspects of discipline and areas of your life where discipline will be helpful. This is by Andy Frisella. I did give this one 4 stars. I got some stuff out of it. I thought it was interesting, and it's been on my TBR for a while, so now I can cross it off. And then I'm happy to say that I did finish Blood Rush by Ben Galley. This was on my Herkiad 2.0 prompt for Challenge Myself, and I did read this one. So there was really only one Ben Galley book that was on the list originally that I did not read, but I did read one that wasn't on the list. So I feel like those two cancel each other out. So I did complete that square, which is awesome. And this one is steampunk, Old West, dystopian sort of. So interesting. I love the premise of it. It's kind of like in the gold rush times where people have been looking for gold. Now it's getting kind of scarce. And the Old West, of course, I think this one's based in Montana. And it was just so interesting. There is a blood magic And in this one, it's if you drink blood. So like if you drain the blood from an animal and then you drink that blood, you then take on traits of that animal for a certain amount of time, which is called the blood rush. So while the blood's rushing through your system, you have this trait that you can take on. So like growing a lobster shell on your back, or having speed or eyesight or specific hearing or metal claws, or like all these different things. And then if you have this ability, if you're a blood rusher, then you usually have one animal or one animal family that you can use. The rest of them don't work for you and could be harmful if you use those. But then you have I think it's called the leech, and that is someone who can do multiple animal families. So it was a very interesting. The characters were fun, and I loved just the storyline in general. And yeah, if you like the Old West, the Wild West, and you kind of like that steampunk kind of aspect as well, you would love this one. And I gave this one 4.5 stars. It was almost 5, but 4.5 stars. Next, I was finally able to find Perfect Victims by Mohammed El Kurd, and this was for the Boundless Book Club with The Story Ain't Over. And this one was definitely interesting. This one is based in the Palestine area and the Palestinian people, and I just thought it was very interesting. It's eye-opening, thought-provoking, and I did give this one 3.5 stars. Then I still had some time left to read, and so I ended up picking up Chronicles of Avonlea by Lucy Maud Montgomery, and this is just a short story collection all based in the Avonlea area of Anne of Green Gables. And it was so cute. A lot of the characters from the previous books are in here. They kind of make a little showing, and the characters talk about Anne, and it's based in the time when, of course, Anne lived in Avonlea. So I think that's the second book, Anne of Avonlea. Yeah, it was very cute, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. And then I didn't actually realize that I had these on my Kindle, which was great. But I also had Further Chronicles of Avonlea by Lucy Maud Montgomery. So this one I did give just 4 stars. There was a couple stories at the end that I was like, not quite for me. But the rest of them were really good. I think those last couple stories, it's not that they didn't age well. We'll just say that. They didn't age well. But the rest of them were really fun, and just it was nice to be back in the Anne of Green Gables world. So I'm glad that I read it. And whew, that was it. That was all the books that I read in June. So thank you so much if you made it all the way to the end of this one. I know there was a lot. And if you made it this far, want to let me know that you were here, leave a book stack emoji in the comments to let me know. And until next time, keep reading. Bye!